Back once again for the renegade master. 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 Back once again for the renegade master.
Hello my renegades and welcome back, and we are getting back into Love is Blind series 2. We are now on episode 6. Do you know what, with these people are built different, you know, on this show. Like, seriously, they so are. But before we get into this episode, as I always ask, please hit that subscribe button, please hit that notification button so we know I'm doing videos. Please comment, like, share and do the good things that you do, because you know I continue to be on the road to 1k. So now we're going back into Ashley and Billy, because, you know, Ashley's dropped the bombshell on her dad that the man she's brought to see her dad is not her boyfriend, but they are engaged. Yeah, dad really speechless, like honestly speechless. Yeah, and Ashley's trying to bring out the words to convince him that she's making the right decision, but she gets absolutely tongue-tied because, you know, her dad is saying that this is actually not the norm. So Ashley is then looking to Billy for some support in her corner in convincing her dad that this is the right decision for them both. Sometimes I do wonder, when they get this whole spiel of springing it on the family members, whether the family members are already clued in, because they're going to have to explain the camera crew. Like, they're really going to have to explain the camera crew, because as we already know from Love is Blind's past, either whether it be the UK or the USA, some parents or some family members do not wish to be on camera. So they have an idea that something is going on, so there must be some type of explanation somewhere. So we go back to Ashley and Billy, and she's basically saying to him that he basically promised that he would look after her. So in essence, it feels different. So this is the point at which Billy literally pipes up basically and say he has come into this with serious intentions and he is wanting to find the person for him. So basically he thinks the person for him is Ashley at this moment in time. His dad is sitting there listening to him, don't get me wrong, he's sitting there and listening to them both, and Billy is wanting to give her dad reassurance. So basically he did kind of get knocked back again when they had to explain that the wedding is actually in 3 weeks. They're both trying to convince, I think they're both trying to convince her dad that they have a very strong foundation. And Ashley does speak a little bit about how it will go in terms of her being cabin crew. Like, for 6 months it will be difficult for them both, because he's not able to be stationed as I think where she is going to be, but she's going to be in and out, flying in and out in terms of the jobs that she has for the next 6 months, and then it's going to change after 6 months. So basically Billy's willing to compromise up until that point. So they say that they are having these conversations. And I honestly believe that Ashley is compromising a lot for Billy, especially when it comes to her work, basically. And to be fair, he didn't even want to date cabin crew or essentially be married to a person who does cabin crew work. That's how passionate he was about that little bit of a boundary. But he ended up asking Ashley to marry him. So how that's going to work for them, I don't know. So her dad talks about, like, you know, how all of them do admire Ashley, especially her work ethic, but he also agrees that there's going to have to be a compromise between the both of them. I think Ashley knows she will have to compromise her work in terms of her flying and being out of the country so much, especially if she wants to see a future with Billy. But Billy has no choice basically in when and where he gets deployed at the end of the day, and Ashley is the one that's going to have to deal with him being out of the country at those times as well. So I don't know how they're going to compromise there, because Billy won't be able to compromise in terms of his role within the army. So her dad is definitely finding it difficult in terms of what Ashley is saying. He's getting a little bit teary, but she's convincing him that she is very, very happy where she is basically. He's basically said, like, if it's something that you are both happy to do, then in essence he's not going to stand in their way basically. I don't fully think he gave his approval as what Ashley was seeking and looking for, but he is going to step back and let his daughter do something that is going to make her happy basically. Ashley does ask him if he would walk down the aisle, and this is where the tears started going for both of them, and he said, like, of course he was. Now this is a dad who's there for his daughter basically. And it is kind of hard for me when all of these people involve their parents, especially if you're asking the parents for their daughter or their son's hand in marriage or wanting that approval from them. Because at the end of the day, my first thought is, if you're doing that, then you best make sure when you get to that altar that you're saying I do to that person, because it's a bit of a kick in the face when you turn around and say I don't, because you literally involved her family member within that shit. Do you know what I mean? So I don't think dad would be very happy to see his little girl being hurt by Billy if he says I don't when he gets up there. So you see her dad talking to the cameras, and he's basically saying, like, if they are happy and their relationship is working, then he will gladly walk her down the aisle. He doesn't, as I've already mentioned, say that he is approving of the movement at the end of the day, or that, you know, Billy will allow for his daughter to make the decisions that he needs to, but Ashley does see as like her dad is approving of all of it. So then we go to Cal and Sarova. You see Cal and Sarova a little bit, you see Barbara and Jed Sarova a little bit, and they are quite good in the spaces that they're in. So you see Megan and Kieran, and he's basically cooking, and he got her sunflowers with roses in it. And I have to say, do you know what? He's actually doing his thing. He really is doing his thing. He's going all out for the little date in the apartment for Megan. Kieran is actually really sweet in that he's showing Megan that he appreciates the little things that she consistently does for him. It's not gone unnoticed by him at the end of the day. And he feels that Megan will fit in his life easily. And Megan likes to hear this. But I was like, will she give him the one thing that he wants, which is the words I love you, because that's what he's waiting for. You see Megan just grinning from ear to ear, yeah. So she ends up taking his hand and she lets him know that she's so lucky to be with him, basically. And I thought, okay, is this gonna be it? Is she gonna say it? And then she actually did. She stepped back and she told him that she loved him. And the grin that Kieran gave was lit in his face, let's just put it that way, because all that he wanted to hear was she was in it 100 with him as well as he is with her, basically. I just thought at the end of the day, let's hope, but because she stepped into this melee in terms of feeling those emotions and feeling those feelings for Kieran, that when they get to the altar, that it ain't gonna be an I don't and they do each other dirty, or one does the other one dirty at the end of the day, because Megan is literally putting down her defenses at this point. I do want it to work out for them, but we shall see what happens next. So we see Billy and Ashley, like, when they got up in the morning. This man is like a damn drill sergeant. Like, he's telling Ashley how she should be doing the bed, not to forget her cup of tea, and Ashley's there saying, like, you know, yes sir, because she's already expressed that he's a lot tidier than her, and he's the type, due to his army training, he gets up and he's very regimented in what it is that he does, so he will do things straight away. Ashley's treating it as a joke right now. Do you know what I mean? She's treating it as a joke right now, but I'm telling you, it's gonna wear thin after a while. Billy's gonna have to learn the ways of Ashley too, and be able to compromise how he is within that mix too. If he doesn't, then he's gonna end up getting Ashley's back up, and she's probably gonna end up leaving him, basically. So you see Katisha goes and visits Sarova, and I was like, during this bit of episode, we hadn't seen much of Katisha and Javin together, so I was just questioning what's happening with them right now. So you see Kieran, as it flips to Kieran and Megan, they're all loved up together. She's told him that she loved him. They look cute together, ain't gonna lie. So they're packing in order to be able to go to Kieran's place, because they have arranged to meet up with Kieran's very close friends. So you see Javin and Jed meet up. So Jed asked Javin like how it's been, and Javin says it's been good, but he ain't giving Jed no eye contact at all. And that's what I realised with Javin, when people are asking how it's going, how this is going, even when Katisha talks to him, especially when it comes to certain things of matters of the heart or emotional things, he does not look that person in the eye. He does not give full-on eye contact. He will look everywhere but at that person, which is quite telling in his body language at the end of the day. I mean, Javin does say that the days, like, as the days get closer, it gets more real for him. I don't really trust in what Javin says, because to me he's so blasé. he's not serious. He doesn't seem serious about everything that he says at all, especially with Katisha, because he puts on a show when he's away from her. So he says certain things and he becomes a little bit vulnerable with his boys, but then he's with Katisha, is not able to do that at all. And I think for me, watching this episode, and especially the next episode, he's just disrespected her one too many times. Do you know what I mean? So I can't even trust the truth, or whatever truth it is that comes out of this man's mouth right now. So Javin is feeling Jedi in terms of him feeling confident about saying yes at the altar to Barda, and I think Javin is trying to get reassurance in terms of where he is with Katisha, and he's wanting other people to be in the same boat as him, but they're not. Everybody's progressing at the speed of light, whereas Javin and Katisha are still in one space, basically. So basically Jed shut that down and said yes, he could see himself saying yes at the altar with Barda. So he asked Javin the $1 million question, like, well, what about you? This man took the biggest sigh, and I thought, you know what, it don't bode well when someone sighs like that before they answer a serious question like that. So he said, I don't think it's 100% right now, if he's being real. And this is what I mean with Javin. In comes the smirk, and I'm like, you don't have to smile at every Ross thing. You don't have to smirk at everything. Yes, it could be a knee-jerk reaction in terms of he's feeling a little bit uncomfortable talking about this type of situation, but at the end of the day, you put yourself in a program where the end result is you want to get married to someone. You have to be motherfucking serious at this point. Do you know what I mean? Forget the freaking smirking, forget the freaking smiling. Let yourself out and let yourself be free in terms of what it is you want and what you don't want. Because at the end of the day, Katisha can't work with nothing because she ain't getting nothing back from this dude. I'm telling you, this man is not going to marry Katisha. He don't even like Katisha at the end of the day. I don't know what he came on this show for, but it wasn't for marriage, because I literally don't see this man trying at all. So he says like he's never bought a girlfriend to see his mum or his family. And I thought, that's because, mate, you've never dated properly in your life at the end of the day. So even in the pods, I wouldn't say he fully dated Katisha, to be honest. So the fact that he describes Katisha as his girlfriend says it all, because at the end of the day, you put a ring on this girl's finger, she's your fiance, not your girlfriend. There is a big ass difference at the end of the day, a very big difference in that. So he thinks Damola is the lingering issue in Katisha's mind, and I'm like, no, it's lingering in Javin's mind at the end of the day. It's lingering in Katisha's mind because everybody but her can see she made a mistake in picking Javin. They want to know why she switched up so quickly from Damola to Javin at the end of the day. Katisha has to talk about it, as no one is going to let it go, because they need to understand her process of thinking in terms of how she came to picking Javin over Damola, when she told people she was picking Damola at the end of the day, including Damola. So to say it's lingering in her mind is an excuse, and for me in poor taste at the end of the day, especially as he's the one that keeps bringing it up. So Javin says, like, he's saying that this scenario with Damola has affected him and Katisha, and I thought, no, it's affected you, my friend, it's affected you. So Javin wanted to win this woman from Damola, but he doesn't necessarily want the woman. Affected Javin more so than it has Katisha. So Javin is saying he would rather Katisha go meet Damola and squash it. And I thought, hold on a minute, this man wants Katisha to go meet Damola to make Javin feel better at the end of the day. And I just thought, what kind of fuckery is this? Like, seriously, what kind of fuckery is this? He wants to make sure Damola is stamped into the ground by Katisha, yeah? All because she said to the man, don't worry. Javin's a fragile human being, let me just put it that way, absolutely fragile. And my thing is how is he making this situation all about Damola when Damola's probably going off, living his life without thinking about them two in the slightest? Because the situation ain't down to Damola, it's down to Katisha and it's down to Javin at the end of the day. They want an excuse as to why things are not working between them, and I think Damola's the biggest excuse that they can both use, especially with Javin. So Jed asked Javin, like, do you trust her? And he says he trusts Katisha, but their communication is different. I'm just like, this man literally says nothing to this girl. Like, seriously doesn't. She is literally on her own. He don't trust Katisha, otherwise he wouldn't say she needs to go meet with Damola to squash anything. The woman chose him, end of story. So why does she need to still go meet this man, is my question. So Javin ends up telling Jed what Katisha told Damola in the pods, basically. And he ends up saying that, Damola was probably baffled. I thought, mate, he was more than baffled. He was hurt and shocked by the actions of Katisha at the end of the day, in terms of why she could change her decision in a heartbeat. I think she needs to maybe explain that better to Damola, but it has to be Katisha's choice, not Javin's at the end of the day. So Javin continues with, imagine if you had been told you are number one, you go in the next day and then you've been told no. But Javin, on a whole, had a hand in it. He had a hand in what happened between Katisha and Damola. So I don't understand how he can step back while he wasn't the bully, he was holding the firing gun at the end of the day, yeah, and Katisha was the one that shot the shot that shot Damola down. Because this girl knew she went in that room with Javin to dump his ass. That's what's so mad, that Javin doesn't seem to recall this in the slightest. And then he had to work so hard to finesse his way back in. So he knew what he was doing. It was manipulation 101 at the end of the day. And Katisha fell for it, hook, line and motherfucking zinker. So now he's there chatting Katisha and telling Jed, like, it bothers him how hurt Damola was, and it was what she actually said. And I said, Javin says he told Katisha all of this that he's talking to Jed about. We've not seen that conversation, so I can't comment on whether he be lying or not. Yeah. So Javin thinks Katisha was embarrassed to tell him what she said to Damola. What should be embarrassing basically is how she treated Damola, to be honest. That's what should be in the embarrassment. Javin said she should not be embarrassed with him in order to speak about these things. And I'm like, mate, she can't talk to you. Javin doesn't make it a safe space for Katisha to talk to him. The man's too nonchalant at the end of the day and dismissive when he speaks to Katisha about certain things. He doesn't have her back. He's not her ride or die at the end of the day. And I kind of think Katisha can feel that, but she's pushing at an empty vessel, is what I'm saying. So we go back to Katisha and Serova, and basically Serova is talking about how she's excited to meet Cal's family, and when it comes to the process of him meeting her family as well. So she's going to end up staying over in terms of going to Cal's family, because they all live in Wigan at the end of the day. I do hope it goes well for both of them. So she asked Katisha, like, what's up with you? How are you doing? So Katisha talks about how difficult it was for her, yeah, in regards to the whole Damola situation and everybody having conversations about it and yada, yada, yada. All I'm going to say is, as I said before, it's a situation of her own making at the end of the day. So she's basically saying that it put a dampener when they went to the retreat, the honeymoon for her and Javin. My thing is, if her and Javin are so connected as they say they are, they would have let that go and let themselves be at the end of the day. They are not as connected as they think they are, because they're literally struggling at the moment, but then want to move away from the reasons why they're struggling and put it all on Damola like he's the issue when he's not. They don't want to deal with the real issue as to what it is that's happening at the moment, because we can tell Javin don't want Katisha. He don't want to marry Katisha. All he's looking for is a girlfriend and a bedmate. That's all he's looking for, and Katisha falls into the bedmate category. Let me just put it this way. So she says like her and Javin are not aligned, and she starts getting emotional because she's saying that she's the emotional one and he's more of a logical thinker. Katisha couldn't really get her words out because she picked wrong in Javin. She really does, and it has, as I said, it has nothing to do with Damola at the end of the day, as her and Javin are close enough to have sex when they are together, and I'm sure Damola is not the issue then, but they want to make it an issue now at the end of the day. So communication between them is hard, but apparently, as Katisha says, they're working through it and having those conversations. But I'm like, how are you working through it and having those conversations if you can't communicate? if your communication styles are so different, how are you working through that? So I really think it should be the end of the road for these two at the end of the day. If I'm really, really honest, I think they should really call it a day. It ain't giving what it's supposed to be giving, to be honest with you, and it's not working for either of them. So you see Meghan and Kieran, they've gone to Kieran's home in London, and he has a nice face, I ain't gonna lie. Meghan is absolutely in her element. She likes this man so much, and you can see it, and he is so happy showing her around his home. But meeting his friends will be a completely different element for them both. They will either come together or fall apart, because Kieran puts a lot of stock in his friends' opinions, especially in Jake, like who is his best friend, in terms of he needs his boys to be behind him in regards to the decision that he wants to make with Meghan. If they're not, it'd be very difficult for him to then continue on this journey or even to marry Meghan. So you see Callum Sarova, and they're on their way to Wigan to meet his family and friends. You see Billy and Ashley go on a date. Like, they are good together to a point, I would say. They do talk, they do communicate quite a lot, but when they're on screen, it's more so, I think, from my perspective, like they're interviewing each other, and it's really, really strange to me to watch. So Ashley is saying that she feels like it's easy with Billy, and he's saying that he's enjoying sharing the journey with her. Ashley does say she wants to be able to do things around the home too, because this situation is coming up in terms of Billy being so regimented, because he will get up and do it all basically, and she feels she hasn't been able to contribute much with, especially when it comes to the household chores, and she kind of feels guilty that he gets up and just starts doing all the household things, when she's like, oh, you know, but in 5 minutes I would have done that at the end of the day. And what Ashley needs to realise, that this is an army man. The army has made him who he is today, in terms of timing, in terms of schedule, in terms of regiment at the end of the day. So Billy is kind of like, don't overthink the things that I do, just let me crack on with what I'm doing at the end of the day. And I'm thinking, this is a man solely by himself, he's doing all the housework, he's doing X, Y and Z, he can't do it all. So if he's doing one part of the housework, she could either do the other, or she could cook. Do you know what I mean? If that's essentially what she wants to do, she don't have to sit there and watch him do it all. Because essentially, I think that's what she's doing. Rather than complain about it, while he's doing one thing, you do the other thing at the end of the day, and then meet in the middle. Do you know what I mean? Because he can't do it all at once, all at the same time. So Ashley basically says that she has never been with someone who is like all systems go. And Billy took the words out of my mouth, where he said the army has moulded him and made him into the man he is today. He's an army man. That's who he is. Can't change. They can't take that out of him right now, I'm afraid. He's been in it for too long. So Ashley says that basically she does find it attractive about him. But I have a feeling that, you know, some kind of way otherwise, that even though she finds it attractive, she still has a problem with it. And that's why she brought it up. Because if she didn't have a problem with it, she wouldn't have brought it up at the end of the day. So she wants to know basically if his structure and his regiment will be adaptable. Because if it's not, she will find it hard to live with. So it's kind of like she needs to know that Billy can bend the rules at certain times, and allow for at least a bit of Ashley to come into play at the end of the day. Ashley says Billy is recognising what needs to change, and they are talking about it so can make it work. Billy's basically saying at the end of that, yes, that they will make it work. And I'm like, I don't know about that. I don't know. But we'll see. But we'll see. So you see Meghan and Kieran meet his friends. You got Jack, who is his best friends, and Harry, Joe and Chris, who are just his friends basically. And I can't fault them. They greet Meghan warmly. They make her feel like she's one of the group, and Meghan is very much involved with them, and they do ask the questions that they need to ask basically. So he's saying his friends' opinions mean the world to him, and if they don't give him the backing, he's not sure if he could go through with it. And I thought, do you know what? I hear what Kieran is saying, but at the end of the day, he's the one that's got to make the ultimate choice when it comes to Meghan, not his friends at the end of the day. Yes, you want your friends to back you. Yes, you want your friends to be fully recognisable of the feelings that you do have, but you can't make them make the full decision for you at the end of the day. Otherwise, you're never going to be happy. never ever ever are going to be happy. So Kieran does speak. He's very eloquent when he speaks. He knows exactly what he wants. He knows exactly the tone he wants to give to his friends, and he tells them that, like, you know, he's fell in love with Megan, genuinely blind basically, and he proposed to her, and now they're living together. So Megan did tell them like a bit of a background, that she's a dancer and she's from London. And I think it was Joe who asked, does it not scare you that you're both going to marry each other in 4 weeks? And Kieran did say, like, we are still in the honeymoon period, or like, you know, essentially could be just seeing the good bits. But he does say that there could be a potential, which is true, and he says he has not found anything he is concerned about in regards to Megan. I think these questions are more for Kieran, from his friends, to gauge how he is feeling, because like they were literally coming thick and fast at him with the questions. And Jack said, like, you know, it's been 4 weeks since you knew each other, why marriage, why now? Megan basically jumped up and said, like, I understand what you're saying, and I'm aware that it's very, very quick, and it's kind of like, this is Love is Blind, mate. This is the timeline that they give them. It's about convincing everyone else to take the journey with them, especially if they feel that they have found something special. Kieran does tell them straight, like, he's never felt an emotional connection at this level before, and I think that should put paid to the questions. But it doesn't. It doesn't. They literally want to know that he's making the right decision. He tells his friends, like, he loved Megan through a wall, basically. And for Megan, she did explain that, you know, it took her a lot longer to say it back, and she wanted to see him in person before she actually did that. And Jack basically asked the question we all think, like, you know, you are in a bubble. And I thought, yes, they're in a bubble. And to be honest, I would say even living together to an extent in the situation that they are, they're still away from normality a little bit. But the spanners are thrown in with friends and family, and how they're going to deal with the differences of opinions from the people that they love the most at the end of the day. But Kieran answers the question so well. He's a man that knows what he wants and won't stop to get it. This man is making sure his friends know exactly how serious he is for Megan. So I would say this is what it looks like when a person is in your corner fully, and Javin should take some hints and some takeaway bits from how Kieran is with Megan and his friends. So Jed and Barda have a date, and they just talk about, you know, how they're feeling about living together. And then Barda talks a little bit about not wanting to be the girl that was expected to be in her family, such as, like, you know, they're seen as you have to cook, you have to clean, X, Y, and Z. She says she doesn't want that life, which is fair enough, but she goes on to say that she doesn't want to rely on a man. Now, I could see that hit Jed. He didn't necessarily say anything in regards to the comment that she made, but I think it hit Jed a little bit, because he literally put his head in his hand and was a little bit sort of situation, but he let her carry on in terms of what it is that she wanted to say. I don't think Barda minces her words at all, but I don't think she fully understands the impact of them on a person like Jed. At the end of the day, she's sitting in an experiment wanting to get married to a man who is of the background where he wishes to take care of his wife, or take some of the load off of Barda at the end of the day that she's been carrying for a very long time. And she's sat there talking like she don't want a man at all. And that's why she says that she's fiercely independent. But as I said, something will have to give between these two at the end of the day, because they are going to butt heads on this situation. It's going to come. She said, I don't technically need you, to Jed, but I'm here because I want you, which is all good for Jeff to hear. But I think Jeff is the type of man where he will fixate on the fact that you just told him you don't need him. You want him, but you don't need him. And I'm sorry, but some men, especially of Jed's ilk, actually like to feel that they're needed by their woman. So Barda talks about the situation, how when her mum was diagnosed with breast cancer and how that made her feel. And she does get emotional by that. And he's there for Barda, and you can see that she essentially needs him in that moment, and he gives her what she needs at the end of the day. Barda says that it's much more important to find the right person, as she knows her mum wants her to find someone and settle down. I'm going to have to give it to Jed, as he validates everything that Barda says to him. He really does. He knows she doesn't need looking after, and this is what he says to her. He knows that she can do it on her own, but he wants to be that bonus in her life and make her feel extra safe, basically, and extra looked after, and that's what he's saying to her. And I'm just like, but what does that look like in practice is my question at the end of the day. Bada's saying that she's basically learning to adjust to being, you know, in her soft girl era again, basically, and she's loving that someone wants to take care of her. So I'm kind of like, well, we'll see how this carries on. As I said, I do think they'll butt heads soon enough, and I think that they have different views on what looking after means to them. But right now they're off to a good start, as some of more so than some of the others at the end of the day. And all Bada wants at this moment is for her friends to approve of him. So Kieran is essentially, when he's speaking to Jack, giving his best friend the reins, because Kieran wants his blessing from his friend, because he said to his friend that without his friend being behind him, he doesn't think that he can get married. And I thought, that's huge. That's a massive responsibility you just placed on your friend's shoulders, because you're laying it on your friend like he is make or break with this situation with Megan. So Jack says, like, you know, marriage is a big thing, that it shouldn't be played with. But I thought, mate, don't let him down, because he literally loves the bones of this woman, and you can see Kieran hanging off Jack's every single word as they're talking about it. So his friends said, Jack said that he would stand by him and be there for any decision that he makes, and that's all that Kieran needed to hear for him to say, you know what, thank you my friend, and give him a hug. So Katisha and Javin go on a date. So Javin is there asking her like how she's feeling about the wedding venue and all the stuff, and she says that she's feeling good. She doesn't elaborate on it at the end of the day. And I just thought, mate, how are you saying that you're feeling good when not so long ago you were crying on Sarova's shoulders because you and Javin were struggling? Now you're feeling good. Make that make sense at the end of the day. She asked Javin, well, like, you know, what about him? This man, as I've already said, never gives Katisha full on direct eye contact when he's talking about something serious. Again with the big ass sigh, which is rather telling. He says he feels excited, and I'm like, people, you need to point me in the direction of the excitement that he says he's feeling, because I'm telling you, I don't see in his facial expressions, I don't see in anything that tells me that he's excited to be with this girl. He says he feels nerves, but it's more like butterflies in his stomach. I'm waiting for him to chat to her directly about what it is that he discussed with Jed today, yeah. Because I've noticed with Javin, he'll say one thing to the lads and then behave differently with Katisha at the end of the day. She don't get a true picture of Javin, of where he is and where he's at in regards to this whole situation. So now Javin is telling Katisha that, like, you know, she may need to talk to Damola. I'm sat there thinking, what for? What would that do? Javin to me just wants to make sure that she sticks it to Damola, basically, even more sure to make sure that Damola knows that he won in this stake, and look what you missed out on. Because don't forget, Damola don't know what Katisha looked like, and Katisha doesn't know what Damola looks like. And I would kind of say it would serve Javin right if Katisha saw what she was missing and decided she didn't want to carry on with the experiment no more. I don't know. At this point, I didn't know what kind of game Javin was playing, but he's up to something in trying to convince Katisha to meet with Damola. So Katisha basically is literally falling into line with the plan that Damola is putting forward. So basically, she's decided that she's got to reach out to Damola. I'm thinking it's going to open a can of worms that Katisha is not going to be ready for, because I don't think any good will come from it at all. My thing is they should lay it to rest, yeah, but because Damola is not the issue. Damola is not the issue. Katisha and Javin together are the issue. Damola is not the issue at the end of the day. And I don't understand why they want to include Damola in their little relationship again, or their struggles or their issues in that sense. It makes no sense to me. Because to me, it's almost like they're trying to blame Damola for what is happening between them. And poor Damola is probably getting on with his life, not thinking about them two at all. I think this is just another gameplay by Javin. And of course, Katisha is going to follow on, because she literally has no mind of her own. She literally wants to keep Javin there, or to show him I'm behind you 100%, yeah, with her actions. So Katisha literally has all the audacity to say, like, it's taking a lot of her brain space as well, and space for him as well. But I'm just like, well, what has this got to do with Damola though? Nothing. Absolutely freaking nothing. They need to sort their shit out by themselves for real. So Javin said, I think you should have that conversation. And Katisha basically smiled at him and says, oh, I'm so thankful for your support. I thought, mate, he ain't doing this for you. Trust me on that one. So then Katisha messaged Damola then and there. Even though Javin laughed, you could tell that he was pissed off with the fact that this girl wanted to message this dude then and there in terms of meeting with him. I would say, honestly, I don't think that Katisha and Damola should have met at all. Like, it's just weird and the vibe is literally off. So the girl was on her phone for a minute, you know, apparently texting Damola. And Javin turned around and says, what you doing? You're sending him your life story? I thought, mate, you told her to do it. You told her to do it. Now she's doing your bidding. Now you're not like it. What's the matter with you? Like, seriously, this man is playing games, literally playing games. This will do nothing for them at all. And I just think Javin just loves seeing Katisha jump through hoops for him. So now they talk about how they don't want to chat about Damola now because it's all boring. And I thought, pull the other one. Because if it was that boring to use, then you would have left it alone. You wouldn't have got Katisha to try and meet this man, and for what? At the end of the day. So Sarova and Cal meet his family. Cal is very happy, and I hope during this meeting his smile stays in place. So it was his mum and his grandmother that was present, Kathleen and Janet. So Cal explains to them the situation and the experiment that they're taking part in. So Cal tells them that, you know, him and Sarova are engaged. Grandmother seemed happy, and grandmother was quite more vocal than his mum at the end of the day. I don't know if she was happy or not, to be honest with you. She gave off some happy vibes, but I don't know if she was giving off concerned vibes as well, because she was smiling all the way through it, or if she's just a quiet person overall. I have to say that Cal and Sarova were very good with his grandmother and his mother at the end of the day, and with each other, because they both gave the space to talk. They both looked at each other for that backing, for that reassurance, to explain how they felt about each other. So basically the discussion came around them living apart, because Sarova, as his mum said, lives in the posh end, whereas they live in a completely different end to Sarova. So basically Sarova did explain to her family that she's not averse to travelling and staying with family if that's what's needed, because I think they decided that Cal would move more towards where she was, and then they would disperse themselves as and when, like during the holidays or whatever, to stay with family and stuff like that. So Cal did ask his grandmother, like, how long you been with granddad for? And she said they've been together for 63 years. She met him when she was 16 years old, and they got engaged when she was 20. Grandma doesn't seem to be bothered about the quickness of the situation between the both of them. I don't know if Mum is, as again I've said, she's quite a quiet person. She does seem to like Sarova, let's just put it this way, and she likes the way Cal and Sarova look together. So overall it seemed like a very good visit. So to the camera, when they were talking to the grandmother and the mum did pipe up and say, like, you know, it's more about a leap of faith, and they do look happy together. Yeah, it was a nice visit to watch at the end of the day. So Damola goes to meet Katisha. This is where it jumps off to. All I'm going to say is Damola's gorgeous. Damola's handsome. And I'm going to say he's better looking than Javin, to be honest with you. He really is. Katisha is gritting teeth when she sees this all handsome man walk into the restaurant. She's like, Damola, and he's like, yeah. And she loved the fact that he turned around and said that she looked beautiful, yeah. And I thought, hold on a minute, love, this is you trying to put paid to the situation. How are you there sitting there low-key flirting with dude? Because that's what she was doing. Damola said he was surprised to hear from her, especially as how it all ended. And that's the key word, how it ended. So why is Katisha there doing Javin's bidding? I don't know. So Damola goes silent, And I would too, because at the end of the day, it's time for Katisha to speak up, because Damola was doing all the talking at the first initial points at the end of their meeting. So what she needed to say, she needed to say with chest. Basically, that's what I was thinking, because I need to understand why you meet with this dude. What is it that you've got to prove, especially to Javin at the end of the day? So she wanted to make sure that, like, you know, Damola was okay. And I was like, my girl, what? You wanted to make sure that Damola was okay? I thought it was laying things to rest, putting things to bed. It weren't checking up on how he's doing. Let's just put it this way. So Damola said it was a surprise, like when the situation happened, as he walked into that room thinking, like, you know, this is the woman I'm going to make my potential wife at the end of the day. He told her that he'd wrote out a proposal and everything. And I said, yeah, this man was prepared. This man was prepared. Whereas with Javin, you got an ad hoc, shitty proposal at the end of the day that really didn't say much, but yet you chose the dickhead at the end of it all. So the looks that Katisha keeps on sliding into Mola, it's like he was saying something wrong and she kept on squinting her eyes like she needed help. And I'm like, the girl still ain't got to the point of why she's there. She didn't get to the point of why she's there. So when Damola said, like, you know, she blindsided him, this girl had all the audacity to say that it blindsided her as well. And I thought, what? Where was the Rati blindside? Because you let a subpar man finesse your backside over a good man at the end of the day, and then still want to chat about you had a connection with two people. No love. No love. You was letting one go. That's what I'm saying. She was letting Javin go, so her connection with him was done. Katisha was not for Damola at the end of the day. She didn't deserve him, so she's kind of getting what she deserves with Javin at the end of the day, because he will treat her terribly. He will treat her like dirt. Seriously, he will treat her the same as the guys that she's always been with. She had something good in her grasp and she literally threw it the fuck away at the end of the day. She basically turned around and said in front of Damola's face that she was teetering in terms of her decision making until the end. She said she felt stuck. And I thought, because you allowed Javin to talk your head around, you opened that door and allowed that man to walk in after you done told Damola that you wouldn't change your mind. Then you made the decision to choose that freaking idiot, to choose Javin. I'm sorry. There was no sign of teetering at all at the end of the day. So I call BS on her little speech, yeah. And Damola at that point, I felt, should have got up and left and thanked his lucky stars that he had a lucky escape when it came to her at the end of the day, because she don't know what the fuck she wants. She really does not. So Damola asked her, did you genuinely think you could see a future with me? And she said yes, and that's why it was so hard. I thought she was supposed to be laying all of this to rest, like not breaking down her feelings for him in the pods. That's not the situation that this called for at the end of the day. She said Damola was at a good spot, but she was not there yet, and she felt the connection with Javin was stronger. Again, BS. Absolutely BS. She went for Javin, I believe, because Damola scared her. At the end of the day, she truly believed that she was not worthy of someone of Damola's ilk, yeah. So she went for a man that can't openly show his emotions, yeah, and a man that does fuck all. And I'm just like, this she deserved it at this point. She made the situation of her own making at the end of the day, as again, she didn't deserve Damola at all. Even Damola looked like he was questioning what she said, because he said at the time, he was like, how could she care for me? Like, if she chose Javin and she did what she did, how can she care for me? She can't care for me. And she sits there and she says, oh, well, I understand what you're saying. I thought, no, you won't. No, you don't, mate. And I don't think he truly will understand what it is that Damola is saying at the end of the day. So she said she felt she was burying her head in the sand and she didn't want to hurt Javin or Damola. And I thought, you need to be honest with yourself at the end of the day, Katisha. Because, yeah, I don't know how she made this all about herself and painted herself as the victim in this scenario. And then Damola then understood where she was coming from. I just thought this is absolutely bogus. She wanted to vindicate herself from the behaviour that she took and the stance that she took. She says to Damola that she is happy in terms of her situation with Javin, but it is challenging throughout. Bullshit. Again. Because if that's what happy looks like, I don't want to see sadness at the end of the day. Because she did not look happy at all. I think she's trying to convince herself that she's happy. So Katisha had the brass knuckles to tell Damola, like, please stay a lover boy. And Damola says, I don't know if I will. As the saying goes, good guys finish last at the end of the day. And if he stays true to no longer being who he was in those pods, that's on Katisha for real. She spoiled a good man for anybody else coming forward for him. And she was like, oh no, don't do that. Don't do that. He tried to reassure her. And she said to him, you need to keep all the good things that are about you. And I'm like, do you see how this gal can sit here and literally talk open with Damola? Yeah, be comfortable in his presence enough to talk how she wants to talk with him, and he respond in kind. Yeah, and with Javin, it's like she's always trying to please this dude, always trying to get him, pull him to where she wants him to be, and it's not working. She can really talk to Damola, and there's a difference in her behaviour when she's with him to when she's with Javin. So Damola says, like, you know, everything happens for a reason, and he says, I'm happy if you're happy at the end of the day. So after the end of this discussion, you see Katisha talking to the cameras, and she's like, how can you build a relationship if people are talking about your past? And I thought, mate, it's you and Javin that seriously keep talking about this situation with Damola at the end of the day. More so Javin, because he manipulated you to talk to Damola. I don't know why she's making it out to be that it's Damola that's talking about this situation when it's not. I don't think she would have met him if Javin didn't tell her she needed to meet him. She needs a very much reality check in this situation. So Damola's basically said that he's happy in closing this chapter, and hopefully he will get to love someone who is right for him in the future. I'm telling you, that man won't be single for long. He won't be single for long at all. So then we go back to Cal and Sarova, and she's met his brother Junaid. So Junaid takes Cal to one side. And I thought, okay, so Junaid wants to talk to Cal brother to brother at the end of the day. And he asked Cal, like, do you actually see yourself marrying her? Because he doesn't believe Cal will. Cal said, like, I wouldn't have gone this far if I didn't think I was going to marry her at the end of it. I would have pulled the plug. So you see Sarova asking his mum and grandma what they thought about Cal getting married, and they said that they will back whatever it is he wants to do at the end of the day. Cal's brother does think Cal will struggle with putting Sarova first. Cal said he's not thought much about putting someone first at the end of the day, and thinks his brother made a good point in that. He does say he has very much put himself first most of his life, and that's why I believe most of his relationships have failed. So you see Junaid talking to the cameras, and he basically believes that the relationship between Cal and Sarova will not last, and he's dead sure on that as well. Basically, he says he knows what his brother is like. Cal likes routine. He likes his own space, and if anything breaks this routine, it will affect him, and he will be, I don't want to take part in this now, it's done, basically. And I thought, well, Cal's gonna need to find another way to deal with those emotions if he wants marriage. He won't have that if he can't adapt his lifestyle to another person at the end of the day. So we shall see if the words of his brother ring true. So Barda and Jed meet Barda's mum and dad. What can I say? It went really well between them. They feel good about Jed. Jed was able to ask for the daughter's hand in marriage, and the father was able to give a speech to Jed basically in his mother tongue, which Barda did what's the word Barda did translate for him, and it was good overall. Can't complain. At the end of the day, they're coming along in strides, and we'll just see how they go from here on out. So you see Katisha and Javin as she's gone back to the flat. This girl changed. Let me just say, she changed. Javin had the smile on his face, asked how her day went, and then straight off the bat he was like, how did your chat go with Damola, basically. And I think this is the most that he's provided his attention to Katisha in the whole experiment. Katisha said it was fine. Javin asked her if Damola was confused, And Katisha basically went quiet at that point, and she just fixed her face. And she only spoke when Javin says, well, I'm assuming that he was confused about everything that had happened. And then that's when she said, oh yeah, he felt blindsided. And I thought, he didn't feel blindsided he was blindsided by your fuck shit at the end of the day. Javin sat there looking like the cat that got the cream. Yeah. He turned around and he said, in terms of Damola, thinking he was blindsided, I understand where it's coming from. And Katisha agreed with him. Javin asked if she apologised to Damola, and I thought, well, why the fuck would she? She made her decision. She has to live with it at the end of the day. And again, I still don't get the point of the meeting. So what is Javin getting from this at the end of the day? So Katisha told him she broke down why she made her decision. So Javin said, more importantly, how do you feel? And do you feel like you've got a weight off your chest? But the weight wasn't Damola, it was Javin. He was keeping the saga alive at the end of the day. I really can't with her or with him, to be honest with you. So she says this will be good for us, good for moving forward in terms of our relationship. Javin didn't look too convincing to me at all. She talks about how she felt about the others talking about it and the outside noise, and I think she's missing the point that it was of her own making at the end of the day. He says to the camera that he is proud of Katisha meeting Damola face to face so she could express himself. And I thought, these two are actually taking the piss. He now says that it will benefit them as a couple now. And then that's when the epiphany came, and I thought, okay, I get it. I get why Javin literally pushed Katisha to meet this man. It's about Javin's insecurity. He made sure that it was dealt with, and that's why he had Katisha talk to Damola. Yeah, he wanted to see the lengths that Katisha will go to for him. It's Javin who had the issues with her surrounding Damola, as Damola was not the issue. They were together, basically. Katisha says she can see why people are friends with Damola though, because he's a good guy. Yeah, and you fucked him over and passed him over for a dickhead, basically. So Javin turns around like, well, if you want to change your mind. And I'm like, you see, these two can't stop saying this man's name. Like, seriously can't stop bringing him up. And it's always Javin who has the issue. I think Damola would have been happy carrying on with his life without that visit from Katisha, basically. But I think Damola was curious about who Katisha was and what she looked like, because they didn't get to meet. So you see Ashley and Billy go food shopping. For me, again, they appear like they're on some type of game show. It's weird how they are with each other on camera. So Ashley does ask him, like, how did you used to shop with your ex-wife? Like, and he basically said that she would get her stuff and he would get their stuff, which is fair enough at the end of the day, because he's very strict with the diet that he's on. So Billy said when it comes to Christmas, that's when his diet goes out the window. So Ashley joked, well, if you're with me, your diet's literally going to go out the window. Billy's face said he didn't like that at all. I think this is something that he will not bend on. So he's letting her know what foods he likes. It's like a lot of lean meats and all of that. So they get into him cooking for her, like when she's going to be away working and when she comes back. And she says to him, if you're going to cook for me, she says, I don't do broccoli, rice and mince, as this is what Billy eats day in, day out, because it will get freaking boring at the end of the day. She couldn't live off that the whole time, and that's understandable. Ashley says to the camera that you can see in her as well that she's starting to feel a little uncomfortable, because Billy is so structured, disciplined and regimented, and in particular when it comes to food is the perception that she's getting. I mean, this is what I said when you lot started banding about I love yous like it was confetti. I was wondering how long it would take for that shine of new tint to wear the fuck off, basically. So Ashley went to the cakes and saying this is something that I would have. Billy was looking at her like, really? I think we would need to have a compromise here. I thought they will more than likely they should more than likely get their own foods, get their own shopping leads at to be fair, and then come together on some, because these two can't bloody fall out over food, because that would be honestly ridiculous. That's what I thought. Billy really felt like this was a large difference in opinion. So I'm like, you can't expect Ashley to fall in line with your regime, to be honest, because everyone is an individual at the end of the day. And understandably, his ex-wife was an army person too, so it probably worked out for him in that way until it didn't at the end of the day. So he needs to relax a little bit, yeah. As Ashley already told him, she couldn't live with him if he couldn't relax some of his regimes at times. So he sees it as Ashley wanting to do something that he must follow, and Ashley is seeing it as she must follow what Billy means. Then this stupid man literally tells Ashley she cannot have sweets or treats in the cupboards for the sake of it, and then he turns around and says no, that's never going to happen. And I thought, what the fuck was that, dude? Like, honestly, what the fuck was that? Not everybody needs to eat clean. Everybody has a different or personal relationship when it comes to food at the end of the day. And you can't force a person to fall in line to what it is that you want them to do. At the end of the day, Ashley's a grown, rotted woman. If she wished for a sweet treat cupboard as comfort in stress times, and especially when us women have our periods, we want certain things in the house to be able to go to as comfort food. Yeah, so Billy needed to wind his neck in on that, like, seriously. And the way he was going about it felt like he was talking to a child. And this is where this episode ended, because I know it's going to boil back to these two in terms of talking about the situation that they're in right now, because the communication was literally flatlining between the both of them, and this was around food. Anyway, my renegades, I'll be back in quick succession with the next episode. As I always say, please hit that subscribe button. Please hit that notification button so we know when I'm doing videos. Please comment, like, share and do the good things that you do, because I continue to be on the road to 1K. Peace out.